Yes! So we're live. Welcome everybody to yet another live interview show with Become a Fearless Father. And right now, my fellow coach, Gustavo Orcajo, thank you so much for hopping on. I really appreciate it. Now, for the people that don't know Gustavo, or don't know me, for that matter, right? This is pretty insane because Gustavo is all the way from Australia. I'm all the way in Spain. I'm at the end of my day. He just woke up. So it's pretty cool to make this happen. And Gustavo, thank you so much for hopping on, brother.
No, thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, man. So I always tell that to all the people, right? Before we hop into getting to know you a little bit better, I always want to start with like the kablam question, which all depends on me, not on you, because I know you're going to have an answer. But I saw the things that you're working on, right? Self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And I'm like, wow, both of those are amazing. Which one I'm going to start with? I just thought we'd do the first one that you got in your sentence, right? So let's start with self-awareness, man. Explain for the people, what does it mean? And most importantly, how does one thrive, if that's a possibility in regards to self-awareness, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess self-awareness is actually a component of emotional intelligence. So they kind of go hand in hand. But self-awareness at its most basic is just being able to actually be aware of what's going on for you, what's going on within yourself, what's coming up for you, and then being able to understand what's going on. Most of us, as we grow up, we're taught everything under the sun, maths, English, geography, the weather, this, that, politics, history, but we're rarely taught about ourselves, our emotions, how to handle ourselves, real day-to-day life things that have a major impact on our lives. So to thrive with that is if you can understand yourself on a level where you can pick things up as they're coming up. So you get into an argument with your spouse or even your child. In that moment, if you can be aware of what's coming up within you, you have the ability and the power to pause yourself in that moment and not continue in that action or reaction mode, where then you might say things you don't actually mean, or you react in a way that you don't want to do, which is, the human way. But when you have the self-awareness, you can pick that up so quickly that you've straight away realized you're out of alignment. So you can kind of pause and go, oh, and then you understand what's just happened and why you reacted like that. So then you can now respond from a calmer place, from a place of love, which is where you want to come from anyway all the time. It's just that our automatic response is to go to that. There are emotions that are created around fear from very young, but we don't even know they're running us underneath. So, yeah, that's where the true power in self-awareness is, that you're picking up things that are happening for you in the moment or very quickly, and you have the ability to understand, and then hopefully you choose to, do something different with what you're getting, the information you're getting.
Exactly. Now, I think any entrepreneur dad that's watching right now is like, oh, yeah, I lose my shit once in a while, right? I mean, it happens. I contest. I'm guilty, right? So is that something that you, with the self-awareness, is there like training steps that you teach, or, walk me through that, how I can improve my self-awareness to make sure that that happens, let's say, as less as possible, because I'm going to assume that, there's always that one moment that's going to escape anyway.
Yeah, well, I think if you get to the point where no thought or nothing triggers you, you're probably enlightened and you won't be on this planet much longer. But look, ideally, the steps to transformation really is you. Okay, so we've got to first, I guess, step back and think what's creating our reactions in the first place, right? So what is happening for us to be able to understand. So what tends to happen is when we have thoughts, right, and usually thoughts are connected to feelings, or they have some feelings sometimes, like an emotion. But when you have a thought so many times and you start to believe it's true, okay, you've now created a belief. Or you create an attitude that you might carry on for a day or two thinking the same thing. And then once you've thought about it enough, it's hardwiring in your brain. So your neurons in your brain are connecting so quickly that it now becomes a belief. And whatever you believe, you're going to perceive, right? So let's say, for example, a child growing up, he brings home a school exam, and he's pretty happy. He's got 80 out of 100. Gives it to his dad, and the dad goes, "Oh, this is crap. You could have done better. Come on, like, you're better than this." And the kid starts crying, and he's like, "Stop crying. Like, stop being a sook. You're all right. Like, it's not a big deal." Straight away, for that child who doesn't truly understand what's going on, he's trying to express an emotion, but he's being told that crying isn't a good thing to do. So I have to suppress the emotion. I have to swallow it down to get love from my dad, right? That's what the child thinks, because all the child wants is love and to be safe, right? Well, that's all humans want, really, to be safe. So that child might take on the belief with that thought and that feeling that he just had, dad doesn't love me unless I perform at a high level, and dad doesn't love me if I express myself. So crying is not going to get love from dad. And once that thought is created and the belief is created, it's hardwired in the brain. And then you might forget about that, and you might push it down and go about your life. Then you're 30 years old, and all of a sudden everything you're doing is failing. You believe you're a failure. Like nothing's coming right, because your perception is, I'm a failure. Like, or you're like trying to perform at this peak level, because you won't feel loved unless you're getting these, high levels, right? And you can't express yourself either, because you've been taught expression means you're not going to get love. So when you're in a situation where someone might say, your partner are usually a good one because you spend most of your time with them, they might say something that could incline that you're not good enough. And even though they haven't really said anything that harsh, all of a sudden that part of you that is inside gets triggered. So that inner child gets triggered, and the emotions come up from when, that period. So anger, sadness, all these things come up, and you just burst out because you're trying to defend that part of you, right? That's what ego does. Ego is like the glue inside your brain that keeps all those beliefs together so that you keep thinking and being that person. So that's why people talk about the death of ego. When you can actually, let go of ego, it means you're letting go of all those beliefs, which means you now have a clear slate and you can see things for what they are, not so much for what you believe they are. So that's what happens, right? We get triggered and we react from that triggered place. So we can't be responding properly. So what we need to do in that moment, that's where self-awareness kicks in. All right, so I'm aware now, I'm feeling anger. I'm aware now that something has come up within me and that this isn't feeling good for me, and it's not getting me good response. It's not getting me what I want. So I need to check in. So what am I feeling? What's coming up? And it's not, the why is not even that important. What's important is actually accepting and taking responsibility that it's coming up within you. So it's never about the other person or about what's happening on the outside. They've just said something and it's triggered something within you. If you didn't have that within you, it can't bring it up.
Exactly.
So when we do, our kids, make us lose our crap, right? Where they do something, we react. We have to check in. All right, wow, what's coming up? Like I'm getting angry, or I'm getting upset. Okay, good. So the first thing to do, accept it. Accept it's yours. Take responsibility. And then you want to choose. You got a choice now. I can regulate myself here. I can choose. I can manage it. So at first it's a bit difficult because you haven't done it before. You're not used to feeling things, and it's quite scary for the brain to feel. But you're not going to die from feeling your emotions, right? So in a heated moment, you might say, can you excuse me for a moment? And you go off to a bathroom even. No one can stop you from going to the toilet, right? So you go off to the bathroom and you can sit in the bathroom and just allow yourself to feel whatever's coming up, just, all right, I'm feeling sad. All right, feel the sadness, feel it. Allow it to take over. Because emotion is one way to look at it is energy in motion, right? It's just energy trying to move. It's trying to shift. It's trying to, release. But when we're holding it somewhere or we're keeping it held down, it can't go anywhere. And that's why it bottles up and eventually explodes. So if we allow ourselves to kind of just feel it, let it move, let it do what it wants, no judgment, just sit there and observe what's happening. and allow yourself to feel, and then welcome it in. This is where it gets quite weird for people to go, what? You want me to welcome anger? You want me to welcome sadness? Yes, because pushing it away, whatever you resist will keep resisting over time.
Whoa.
So, yes, I want you to feel it because you never have allowed yourself to feel it. So feel the anger or feel the sadness, whatever emotion is, and then just welcome it, accept it, thank it for coming up, because once you start to do this work and you see emotions as a messenger, it's just letting you know, man, something you're believing isn't true right now. It's something that like it's messing with you. And this is my message to you. This is the body's message going, something's not right. Check in, let's deal with it, feel it out, and things will be different. And Klaas, like I experienced this in my life, the transformation that I've had is just ridiculous how it works. So once you feel the emotions and you just deal with the emotional part, and then, so, all right, so let me not lose track. You feel the emotion, you accept it, you welcome it, and you keep doing that until it kind of calms down within yourself. And it will. Then you'll start to feel, a bit of peace. And it might take a few goes to do this. You might not be able to do it straight away the first time you do it. But ideally, you want to keep practicing this, right? And eventually things will calm. And then you accept that feeling because peace and calmness is within you as well. And that's a part of you. So you accept and embrace the calmness and you allow yourself to be in that. What you then find, which is mind-blowing later, is the same scenario the next day or the next week. The person or your child could react or do the same thing they did last week, and all of a sudden, nothing comes up. Like there's no fire or no anger or nothing. And you can just respond. You can actually hear what's happening and go, okay, now I come from this place of peace and calm and clarity. And it's happened so many times in my life where I'm just going, wow, like I don't even know why I had to believe or why those things were coming up. And that's not even important. What's important is what I do with it now, right? Okay. And meditation kind of goes hand in hand with this. It helps because meditation will kind of help you regulate your mind a bit and quiet down that chatter that's inside. And that chatter, really, what it is just a bunch of parts of you, like your personality, just trying to express itself. And it's all those beliefs just chatting away in your head. So they're a bit noisy at the start. But with a bit of, meditation, just sitting and observing, just be the observer. That's all you got to do. You don't have to get rid of your thoughts. You can't. It's impossible to get rid of your thoughts. So when people say in meditation, don't think, it's like you're going to be thinking 100%. So it's okay to think, just sit, try and observe. If you get lost in a thought, bring yourself back, focusing on breath and things like that help. And breath is huge in the self-regulation too. So in that moment, when you are feeling, try and breathe it out, breathe deep breaths, because the breath brings oxygen to the brain, which means the brain can't be in a state of, anger and things like that. So I guess they're like a quick kind of way of how someone, and it sounds like, oh, how could that be transformative? But man, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was very powerful. I appreciate you sharing exactly, what to do in the situation and how to develop your self-awareness. Again, just like you explained, Ryan, I just want to explain that to people that are listening either now live or later on the recording. This is a process. This is not like, oh yeah, I read it now, boom, I got it, and next time I'm going to be okay. This is a process, and give yourself some grace, right? I guess that's also important to be like, look, okay, you messed up. It's okay. You're on the right track. So look, and for the people watching this, I really appreciate all the love you're sharing. If you like this, if you learn something from this, make sure you post a comment as well, because I think Gustavo deserves some extra love, because that was absolutely powerful. And anybody should know this. This is, how often do we feel really guilty because we just flipped out on our kid for spilling some milk, right? Just because you had a bad day or something, and then they spilled milk by accident, and you just go, really? It happened to me. It doesn't happen anymore, but it used to. So really, man, we're over halfway right now, and
sorry, man, I talk a bit.
I appreciate that. Hey, Gustavo, share with us, man. Share a little bit of your background story, right? And also share your family setup, because it's always interesting, and especially your story. And I want to have you talk about that. share right now a little bit, and then we'll talk after that in regards to
Yeah.
your story that you shared in regards to Christmas, because that for me was like, what? That's amazing.
Yeah. So look, man, I grew up in a pretty, easygoing family. I had a cruisy life growing up. I can't even remember seeing my parents fight that much. They always did it behind closed doors. So I never really saw how they handled their emotions or how they did things, but life was good. We're a middle-class family, but everything, worked out well in my childhood, and everything I went after, I achieved. So it was all good. Come out of high school, became a tradie, had my own business as a tradesman, and I played, football at a pretty high level, or soccer for those in Australia, and and so life was all right. Then I fell in love, right? As you do, and I went into a relationship that was very tough for me. I didn't know, like, a very powerful woman, expressive, always wanting to communicate. And for me, this was a new world. And I'm like, whoa, what? So our egos are clashing, and we're having issues. And still, but we had this magnetic connection. It was just crazy. And somewhere along that time, early on, we decided, semi-planned, like, we'll have a kid. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't, cool, whatever. And we ended up having a child. 2 years later, we're still in turmoil. Like, things are heavy. Things are getting real bad. We tried moving overseas, tried changing our life, tried so many things. We were trying to start businesses from home together. She was very entrepreneurial. So she was trying to get me to understand that mindset. At that point, it wasn't really there for me. I also had poor man's mentality, so I had massive issues around money. So these were massive clashes we were having, right? Because her mindset and my mindset was so different. But we each had something that we both wanted of each other, right? We both, I was pretty calm and easygoing, and she really liked that. So it was that was where the attraction was. But it didn't matter about all that. Like, our relationship was really going south. We were arguing nonstop. I was constantly under stress. I lost myself in the process, completely forgot who I was, what I loved. We had moved, like I said, overseas, but then we come back to Australia, but we moved up to the Gold Coast, away from Sydney. I was originally in Sydney. So I had no friends, no family, didn't really have anyone to reach out to. So I was trying to process all this myself. I didn't know any of this work of self-awareness, emotional intelligence. So, I'm just suppressing it all, just keeping it in. I didn't know how to get it out. When I'd get it out, it'd be in anger or it'd be in retaliation to something she would say. So we were at each other's throats. My son was 2 years old. He got between us one day and said, "Can you please stop arguing?" And I'm like, what the hell? Like, 2 years old. And he's asking this. Like, that was a massive slap to the face for both of us. And we knew we had problems, and we were just, I guess, hanging on because of him, and as a lot of parents do. But we had tried getting outside help. That didn't help. So eventually she said, "Look, I think it's time for you to leave." And I was like, crap. Like, within me, I knew that I needed to happen, but it's just like, wow, I just didn't expect to happen. So bam, smash me. I didn't have a job at the time. I was a stay-at-home dad. We were trying to create business, and it was just failing because obviously our issues. I didn't have money. I didn't have a house. So, man, it was like, that was like the most traumatic thing that ever happened to me in my life. And then the biggest thing was I wasn't going to wake up to my son's hugs anymore. And I'd been with him every day of his life up until that point, every single day, nearly all day, every day. So it was massive. And so off I went. I got a bit of help from my parents financially, just to kind of get a rental property somewhere, because I had no bloody records of jobs and that. So, man, life was pretty dim, and I'm probably lucky that I didn't know many people around here to go out drinking or possibly going into a darker world, trying to overcome the feelings that were coming up. Because I started believing I was a failure as a dad, I was a failure as a partner. What are people going to think? All these things, all these beliefs start to create because my thoughts aren't in alignment with my heart, right? So I kind of did start looking for coaching, but I was more life coaching or business coaching. I thought my finances might solve my problems, and because I thought that was probably our biggest stress, was our finance. but luckily enough, my ex-partner, the mother of my child, Sil, she went to a workshop about moving beyond stress, and that was all about kind of understanding your emotions and what's going on within you and what's happening. And she's like, man, you got to go to this to learn this stuff. Like, we were self-development junkies, right? We were like every self-development book under the sun. So we knew about motivation, goal setting, all those things, but they never really touch on emotions and self-awareness. So I was like, I don't know, man, I'll talk about this guy. She's like, that was probably the last real big fight we had, where she's like, you got to go to this thing. Like, yeah, luckily she still wanted me in my son's life, like she felt that was important. So that was a massive thing I was grateful for, that she was willing to work and for us to still have him together as a fan, and to be in his life, right? So off I went, and man, it blew my mind. Just, it was the most basic information, similar to what I just told you before, but it was like, whoa, wow. Like, so you're telling me that my emotions, my beliefs are creating a stress response inside my head because my brain is under the illusion I'm under some threat from the outside. So it's just sending me stress hormones all the time, and I'm living in that stress, and then I just react from that place. So if I just do this and this, I can, wow. So it blew my mind. And we both signed up to become emotional intelligence practitioners because we just love the work. And we want, to be honest, it was a year's worth of just working on yourself before you could go near a client. So that's why I did it. I did it for myself. I didn't even think of doing it as a career later or nothing. For me, it was like, man, I need this stuff. Like, I don't know nothing about myself. I don't know how to handle my emotions. I've never seen my parents handle their emotions. How the hell do I do it as a man, And I've got a boy. I need to be there for him. I want him to be able to express. I want him to see my insecurities, my vulnerabilities, and my strengths. I want him to see my whole self. Not this hero that is always strong and powerful, because that's not life. Life's not like that. There's ups and downs, right? So, yeah, and we both did the course, and then we started doing the work, man. Like, it's every day. Like you said, it's a process. It's you're talking about years of conditioning. Like, I'm 37 years old now. When I started that course, I was like 33 or 32. And it was 32 years of conditioning I've got to shift. So, but it can happen quickly. It doesn't, as long as you keep doing it. And it becomes a way of life because it's amazing and it's beautiful work. And, yeah, so things started changing dramatically between our relationship, as co-parents. It was like, holy crap, like she just said that nasty shit she said to me last month, and I didn't even react. Like, I'm feeling good about it, and now I can be a space for her because she's just trying to express. And I understand that now. Same with my son. Oh, you need to cry. You're crying. You're angry. That's okay. You're angry. All right. It's okay to feel your anger, bub. Like, feel it. It's all good. Scream into the pillow if you have to. Punch the pillow. Whatever. Whatever you need to do. You just don't hurt other people or take it out on other people. That's the only thing. You can scream, shout, all you need to do. And then once they calm, embrace them, tell them it's okay, and then talk to them about what's going on. So that was a massive thing for me, for my child. So the relationship with him improved. My ex, like, she was having massive health issues at the time. The stress was just deteriorating her body, literally. Like, she got to the point where her brain, like, she tried to tell me, can you pass me a glass of water? And she knew what she wanted to say, but her brain couldn't get it out. Like, it was freaky, man. So her health started coming back just from doing this work. It wasn't from meds. It wasn't from anything else. It was just from expressing her emotions, from feeling into it, accepting her stuff. So then it became a game of, like, we're no longer pointing at each other going, you're the problem. You're the reason why we're having these problems. It was like, okay, this is my stuff coming up. What I'm feeling fine, like, I need to work on it. You're not the one responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible. So bang, 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 doing the work. And then, so we lived separated for probably about 2 years. And then we transitioned. We're like, look, like, things are good, and we want to be a family again. I was seeing my son every day again. And we're like, look, why don't we be a family anyway? it's not conventional to society, but we can still be a family. We can still live together. We can still live together. And Jordan can still have both his parents. What difference is he going to know? That if we're separated or not, as a couple, we can still be everyone have love in the family. We show love, affection. We still love. And so we gave it a go. And here we are. Like we're over a year and a half, nearly 2 years into it now. And it just keeps getting better. And, we're still not in a relationship, me and her, as a couple, just because we both want different things in that aspect of life. Like I'm a lot different to her there, what I would like there now. So, but we really have that respect for each other. We have that love for each other. We've, she's had people, not people, I'll make it sound like she's had a partner come in through her life, and I've met him. He's actually been in my house. He's been with my son, and vice versa. I have too. And we've actually, you wanted to ask me about that Christmas, I guess. Yeah, so that was the first big test for us. We're like, well, it's Christmas time, and, we're not big on the Christmas thing, but, it is a time to come together and be festive and celebrate life. And so, like, you know what, let's all be together, the four of us, like her partner, my partner, and my son. And it happened, man, and it was a beautiful day. Like we all had fun. We went to the beach. We stayed at home. My son got to play with both, got to meet both. But this is the key, Klaas. Like I'm still human. So when this man comes into my house, first time ever that I had another man come into my house, first time ever I'd ever met this guy, right? So it wasn't like I had met him before or they had dated and I saw him. So that comes into my house and says hello to my son, talks to my son. Oh, I can feel something coming up. Like, oh shit, what is this? Like, oh wow, okay. So, but I feel it, and I picked it up. My old self would have gone into jealousy, would have gone into all these beliefs like, should I trust this guy around my son? Or is he better than me? Is that why she picked him? Or all these crazy thoughts might come through and create the feeling and the belief. So I pick it up there and I'm like, okay, cool, feel that, Gus. And I can do this now while I'm literally sitting here talking to people. Like I can process it in seconds or minutes, right? Or like I said, if it's really heavy, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the toilet or whatever. Yeah. And boom. And then I know I'll deal with it, or at least to the point I can calm it, and then later I'll work on it full on. But, in that moment, just at least to get it down to a place to be able to respond and be in a good space for everyone in the house, Because that guy, it's not his fault that I'm feeling stuff. It's not his, he's just a guy. I don't even know the guy, and I'm already judging stuff, So, yeah, man. Felt it. Then it was crazy. The rest of the day was good. Got to know the guy, it was a really nice guy. And, things are different now that, that person isn't around anymore. But that whole procedure was just another step for me to, I guess, level up or to go deeper, really, to go deeper in me. All right. Oh, thanks, man. And now I thank people like anyone who crosses my path who triggers me. I'm like, yes, that's more work I needed. I didn't know I had that. Good. Keep coming. Exactly. It's a game now.
Yeah, man. Just when you were talking about the whole Christmas thing, it just blew my mind, right? Because entrepreneurial dads that come to me, it's usually, well, either the relationship is going okay, or they're just broken up and it's just one big fight, and they're happy when they get to see their kids. And then I'm hearing you talk, and it's like, okay, we're not together, but we're still partners. And we had a Christmas where both of our partners were there. We were all five of us were celebrating Christmas. I'm just like, boom, man, wouldn't it be nice if everybody had that possibility, or at least some level of what you mentioned, like respect and control themselves, and saying like, look, it's not her fault. It must have been my fault at some point. It is my fault at some point. Like, let's look at myself before I start pointing my finger at her, which is so easy to do, which most people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man. Well, what I got out of it for people that are on, right? So, because we're getting over what we said that we were going to talk about.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's perfect, because I learned a lot from this, and I hope people picked up from that too. So one of the things that's really important for any entrepreneur dad out there, one, you're really open about your story. This is not an easy story to talk about, all the things that happen and who you were, right? Two, your honesty to share that, right? So any entrepreneur dad out there right now that's listening and that actually has their own show or brings out their own content, these are the things that you got to share, because these are the things that make people like you, love you, feel connected with you, right? Right now, I'm like, I already have much respect for you. Now it's like, man, you sharing this here on a show where a lot of people are going to listen and hear it. That's powerful. That's just beautiful to hear that. And what you mentioned as well, and I want to mention that because it's being said often, but consistency, right? That's the one thing you said, like, keep going, not meaning like every day you do something, but also meaning like, look, it's going to get heavy. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But make sure that you put in the right habits in place, that you just keep practicing, you just keep going forward. And right, that is in regards to self-awareness. However, that's in regards to everything, building your business, building a relationship with either, your wife or a new partner, or with your kids, right? So I really appreciate you sharing that. Dude, that was 2 questions, and we're out of time, so I don't want to keep it on any longer. We'll definitely set up a different time as well, again, to talk one more time. Everybody's been listening, man. Make sure you show Gustavo some love, put a like or a heart right there. It's important. More people need to hear this, in my opinion. I mean, as I said, I have so many clients that talk to me, and it's just sad to hear that, the relationship is not there, right?
Yeah.
From both areas. So absolutely, man. Gustavo, thank you so much for being on. Everybody else, thank you so much for having joined us. Again, make sure you put your like in your heart, share it if you think that a friend needs to hear this. We really appreciate that. I wish you all a great day. Next week, I think I have 5 live interviews. It's going to be off the chain, I'll tell you right now. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks.